Well, it's no secret that manufacturers buy each other's cars to strip them down, find out how they're put together, because they don't want to miss out. If there's a better or more profitable or cheaper way of doing something, they want to know. This is their business, and they want to be the best. Well, no, they want to be the most profitable. Hence, we recently discovered that Ford CEO Jim Farley is driving around America in a Chinese Xiaomi SU7, and Toyota got hold of a Tesla Model Y. Now, Jim Farley really does not want to give his up. He openly admits it. He prefers it, and while driving it around, he claims he's getting so many ideas for future Ford EV models. Toyota, meanwhile, just stripped down the Model Y to find out how it was put together. I'm Dave. I'm looking into how Tesla's revolutionary unboxed method of manufacturing is over 10 times quicker and 50% cheaper even than what they do, and they hold a current world record. More importantly, I look into what speeding up production another 10 times will mean for the price we pay for our EVs once it starts to get up to full speed. Well, the Model Y was the first mass-produced car ever to make use of a single one-piece aluminium alloy casting. For the last 100 years, car manufacturers have made chassis and chassis components like subframes from multiple pieces of metal. They had to cut them all out individually, press them into shape, these are big huge presses, then assemble them into the finished part, often welding more than 150 individual components involving over 1,000 individual welds. This is hugely time-consuming, costly. But it was the way the industry did it, always had. Tesla took a different approach and contacted a casting machine manufacturer to see if all that could be replaced by a single cast component, a feat that had never been done before up to that stage. Indeed, making the machine able to cast such a component had never previously been attempted. A total leap into the unknown. But they worked together, and the first big giga press was made. It not only required this brand new, simply massive casting press, but they also had to develop a totally new aluminium alloy, as none of the other existing alloys would work. Now, here their experience of working with metals and alloys in SpaceX rockets helped. So not only did the front and rear castings enter the production line, but all those thousands of fixed robots that previously pressed, assembled and welded the chassis components could all be removed, making much more space, much more efficiently for more production lines. In addition, it enabled the invention of the structural battery pack, and that now became possible. Instead of making a car chassis and then a separate battery pack and fitting the entire battery pack into the chassis, it was heavy, Tesla made the battery pack the piece of the chassis that joined the new front and rear castings together, and the batteries actually became part of the strength. 3 pieces, not hundreds. Well, it revolutionised the manufacturing process to such an extent that they claimed the world record for the speed of cars leaving a production line. While the materials used obviously remain the same per car, the speed of the production line dramatically increases the number of cars you can make per day, and the massive increase in floor space due to lack of those thousands of cutting, pressing and welding robots means you can add even more production lines in the same space. Faster throughput meant lower cost. It was a lot cheaper. Now, Toyota, when they looked at it, didn't believe this was possible. They openly stated so. They claimed the casting would not be strong enough. It had an accident, the whole casting would have to be replaced, writing off the car even for a minor bump, and a blah-de-blah-de-blah, and a myriad of other excuses. It came down to, look, we've always done it this way. We're the world leaders. Everyone else has done it this way, so why should we change? But once that world record was achieved, they, and funnily enough, almost all other car manufacturers, suddenly began to, warm to the idea of the single-piece cast chassis. It was obviously much faster, but it was also much cheaper. They too could make cars cheaper and faster. That's a win-win. So today, most of what I call the legacy auto, this is a generic term for Ford, VW, Mercedes and all the rest, the old original car makers, they've already started using their own castings. Does anyone else find it amazing that in 100 years of making cars and having billions made, nobody thought of doing this? Anyway, leave your comments down below, and while you're down there, please subscribe. Well, the legacy auto industry is undergoing a massive shift in manufacturing, and this applies equally to ICE, hybrids, and EVs. It's just a much better, quicker, and cheaper way of making cars. They've finally got away from what they've always done and found a much better way of doing it. So it must be a real blow to them to find that Tesla's now just abandoned that latest way of working and just begun a massive restructuring of the first of their factories to a totally new method, which is claimed to be 10 times faster and up to 50% cheaper. One Model Y left the production line every 55 seconds in China. The new method will see the next model leave at the rate of one every 5 seconds. Talk about running to catch up. Most legacy do not yet have their casting machines up to full production, and they're already obsolete. Well, this does explain why recently most of the legacy auto, they're now rolling back on EV production and sales, and they're focusing on PHEVs, hybrids, or in the case of Porsche, they're going back to pure fossil fuel. No sign of any battery at all. It also explains why they're lobbying the UK and EU governments to cancel or delay the EV mandates heading towards 2035. Now, we've seen all this before. Nokia, they saw the arrival of the smartphone with no physical keyboard as a gimmick, newcomer, wouldn't last, and decided they knew best, just made bigger and better mobile phones with bigger and better keyboards. Same old, same old. And we all know where that ended up. The Western auto industry is looking at Tesla and effectively throwing in the towel. With Tesla's Unboxed manufacturing, they have absolutely no hope of competing, but more importantly, they've already struggled to make EVs profitable at all. Well, they haven't. Not one single auto company other than Tesla has ever made a profit by making and selling EVs. Not one. Ford's latest figures show in 2024 they had a negative 49% profit margin. Overall, they lost half of what they sold the EV for. A £50,000 car like the Mach-E or the Capri actually cost them £75,000 to make. It's not a small profit, it's a massive loss. And now Tesla calmly announces that they're going to be making their EVs 10 times faster and at half the price. Towel. Yeah, there are many reasons. People who, for personal reasons, say they'll never buy a Tesla. But if they make them cheap enough, they'll still have a massive market of people who will buy them. And when they are cheap enough, many of those who say they won't also probably will. If you want proof of that, just look at how many EV drivers use Tesla open to all chargers. Why specifically said Western legacy? Because one EV manufacturing group is famous for copying anything and everything they think they can make a profit with. China. Now, I can guarantee that the Chinese EV manufacturers will be watching Tesla like hawks. And if the Unboxed factory works and is 10 times faster, they will have their own version of it out in no time at all. After all, how long did they take to build a brand new hospital during COVID? I seem to remember they had about 5,000 people working on it round the clock, and it was open in a week. That also was, probably still is, a world record. Well, if Tesla makes this work and China follows in their footsteps, what hope is there for any legacy auto making and selling EVs at a profit? Now, let me rephrase that. What hope is there of them making and selling EVs? Once again, look at the smartphone revolution. Pre-smartphone, the giants were Motorola, Nokia, BlackBerry, all stuck to their guns, carried on as if nothing important was happening. Today, every single one of them has lost their top spot as a mobile phone manufacturer to the newcomers, Apple, Samsung, and, even more recently, third largest in the world, Xiaomi. Is this a lesson legacy auto ought to be looking at? So just what is unboxed manufacturing? It's quite simple. Well, we all know the production line manufacturing founded by Henry Ford 100 years ago. You have a continuous moving belt onto which components are added and assembled. You start with a chassis that goes on, and then dozens of additional components are added on a slow-moving belt. It always travels at the speed of the slowest process. When the body panels are added, the whole thing is then dipped in a rust preventer and a galvanizing solution to prevent rust. These layers must be heated and dried before moving on. Obviously, you can't fit seats or carpets or dashboard at this stage, because the next stage is for dozens of these robots to whip out and spray paint the body panels. Paint goes everywhere. But modern paint is not just a base coat and a gloss. It can be a dozen or 15 individual layers, especially for metallic finishes, each of which has to be allowed to dry before the next coat goes on and can be applied. But finally, it's finished and dry, and what do? Well, they then have to remove the doors, bonnet and boot, because otherwise they can't install all the rest of it, like wiring looms, seats, dashboard, engine. It's not an efficient way of making a modern car. Now, I launched a video about a year ago where I forecast that the Tesla budget models, which have still not yet arrived, will not be painted. I incorrectly believed they would use stainless steel and press it in one piece like the Cybertruck, because painting budget models is hugely time-consuming and disproportionately expensive. But I was not wrong in predicting they would not be painted. They will not. More on that in just a moment. So the production line is very inefficient, because once they attach the body to the chassis, and that is quite early on in the process, getting the stuff in like seats and dashboards can be really tricky and time consuming. They've actually developed some really nifty little robots to help them do this. Okay, it's a 100-year-old procedure, and it's very, very inefficient. Now, unboxed manufacturing is the opposite. It has many smaller satellite mini factories, I like to look at them as. One might be for the rear casting assembly. So the casting straight out of the giga press is moved to a new area where a specialist team add items like the motor, the drive shafts, the suspension. Because it's not yet in the car, it's just sat on a workbench, access is perfect. And if you do need access to the underneath, you can just turn it upside down, work on it and spin it back again. And then once finished, it heads down to the next assembly area where it could meet up with the front casting. And that one has also been pre-assembled with steering, suspension and everything else and completed. So now those two are bolted into the body. And the body includes the bonnet and the boot and the doors and the windows. So, whoa, hold on, you say, what about the painting? It's gone. As I predicted, but not in the way I suggested. You see here, Tesla has developed a new range of resins and polymers and adhesives. Remember they own SpaceX? They use them extensively there. Think carbon fibre. So body shells, doors, bonnet and boot, they're all moulded in another section. And if anyone knows anything about resins, like they used to use in fiberglass, the resins themselves can be dyed. Put in a bright red resin, and when it's applied to the polymers and hardens, it's bright red, self-coloured. No painting required. Well, this also has advantages for accident damage. The colour goes right the way through, so minor scratches, they're almost invisible. And if they are bad enough, they just need a bit of sanding down and repairing with the red resin. So the finished body never needs any painting nor time for multiple coats to dry. Make it, once dry, it's finished. Well, the final stage then is the battery pack, but here there's also a secret twist. The battery pack is a structural part of the chassis. It's also assembled at a specific station, but once the battery's completed, the interior of the car is then bolted on top of it. The seats, the dashboard, the armrests, everything else, they're all added. And they're added really quickly because it's just on the floor. It's not inside a car at this stage. Really easy to work on, really quick to work on. And then once it's finally complete, that battery pack module is simply lifted up into the car from below and bolted to the front and rear castings. Then they just make all the final connections for wiring. No, they don't, because just there's also a twist here. If you remember back to the days of your home computers, most of us had something called USB. We still have it today. But in the old days, it connected everything. It was all hardwired. We didn't have any of this wireless stuff. We would often need USB hubs to give us enough connections for all that we used. Printer, scanner, modem, webcam, speakers, keyboard, mouse, desk light, fan, microphone. There's a million devices that you can actually run off USB. And the real magic of USB is you just plug it in anywhere. Doesn't matter where you are. You might have a printer with a USB port and you can plug a monitor into that. Doesn't matter. The computer always knows where it is. It looks around the whole hub and finds it, and more important, when to use it. So hit print, only the printer's activated. And even if it's plugged into my display monitor. Now, if the devices need power, you can plug the devices into any plug socket. It knows you've plugged it in, and it now has an extended means of communication. We've got something called power line mains adapters. You plug one adapter into a socket, connect it into the back of your computer. Now, if you plug another adapter into a different socket anywhere else in the house, you can connect anything you like into it, like a satellite box or printer, and it'll be connected through your computer just through the ring main. Tesla next-gen cars use this sort of technology. No longer do you need a full wiring loom with individual wires going to every single component in the car. You run a single power cable the full length of the car, alongside which is a USB cable. Now, when you want to connect a headlight to the car, which will require a separate power supply, you plug that into the nearest power cable. It's usually a matter of a foot or so away. It's now connected to your computer through these power line adapters. But if you want just an internal light, which doesn't need a separate power supply, it can take all this power off the USB cable. You just plug that on a thinner wire into the nearest USB cable. The computer keeps track of everything that's connected, and it operates everything as and when needed. No wiring loom, virtually no wiring. You think of making a door. It's got electric windows, sensors, heated door mirror, stereo speakers, airbags. Now, with the unbox method, you can make that door in its own workstation and complete everything inside the door, plug everything in, and then put on all the decorative trims and fascias and everything else. And coming out of that door will be two cables, one power, one USB. That's it. When you bolt the door to the car body, you just plug in two cables. Power supply, USB. The computer can then operate anything and everything in the door on demand. Now, if you've ever seen a wiring loom, it's a nightmare mess of wires and also weighs anything up to 150 pounds. So it's about 65 kilos. All gone. Now, for the likes of Toyota, Ford, Kia, Mercedes, VW, just how can they possibly keep up? Far from being just a theory to investigate to see if it's better, this unbox method is already being installed in several gigafactories and it's patented. And the thought of trying to keep up with this sort of pace of change, just a non-starter. And besides, they don't make half their components. They'd have to go to their supplier and they probably wouldn't do it anyhow. So what happens next? Well, I suspect we're going to see a massive swing back to legacy auto making hybrids and even right the way back to 100% petrol and diesel cars in the very near future. ICE is still legal in the UK for another 4 years. Hybrids are still legal for the next 10 years, both here and in Europe. Anyway, 10 years is a long time in the life cycle of a car. They're going to fight the EV mandate. They're going to try to get rid of all this CO2 and net zero rubbish. They're going to promise, trust us, we're getting rid of all of our pollution. If you just let us know what we're doing, we're the experts. They're going to push to get back to what we all know we need. Proper cars powered by good old petrol engines. There's loads of petrol left, and the oil companies can always go and find more. It looks like this process has already started. I think it's going to ramp up. But now I'm going to be watching out for the comments flooding into the channel. This heralds the end of EVs, back to petrol. Many people will believe this is exactly what they need to get rid of this threat that EVs seems to pose for them. Hold fire. Do I look worried? Life's not that simple, and there is yet another sting in the tail. That's going to be the subject of a future video. Legacy Auto might have been so absolutely focused and dedicated in getting back to what they once had and did that they've totally overlooked one vital element. They've miscalculated one simple factor, and it is the one that finished off Nokia, Motorola and BlackBerry, relegating their mobile phone businesses to a tiny fraction of what they once were. You need to subscribe so you don't miss that one. I'll catch you on the next one. I'm Dave.